Okay, this video is called 4th of July songs. I'm going to show you some of the best songs that are good for 4th of July. I'll have a little background information here. I'm going to talk. Right now, the world is kind of trying to decide how it wants to be. The big money wants the world to bring back slavery. It's already brought back slavery in a lot of areas, and it's pushing very hard for slavery in the United States. Now, I know most of you don't know what's going on, okay? And also, the sad truth is, the forces of evil are very intelligent and they're very well organized and they've got lots of money. Whereas the forces for good are mostly a bunch of stupid people who don't know what's going on. Okay, but this is kind of what it comes down to, an arm wrestling match between good and evil. All right? And so hopefully enough people will say, look, we want America to be a good, free place. But I can tell you, the big money, think how big money thinks. The religion of big money is atheistic Darwinism. And atheistic Darwinism is always what a ruler wants, in a sense, a tyrannical ruler, because it gives them total power. If there is no God, if there is no outside third party to appeal to, they basically have total power, total control. They are, in a sense, the equivalent of a God and can do whatever they want. And I share this with you because, and bear with me, I know what I'm saying might sound a little strange because most of you haven't studied this before and you don't know it. I've studied this for decades, and it's in writing and it's obvious. This is not my opinion. I'm just letting you know what's in writing and what's going on. The billionaires of the world who run the world, it's not even run by countries, they have decided the world is overpopulated. The number one problem in the world, in the opinion of the super rich people who run the world, is that it's overpopulated and all these stupid people are polluting the oceans, polluting the lakes, polluting the air. Wouldn't it be better if we reduced their population? They've put it into writing. It's been in writing for a long time that their goal is to decrease the population of the world to about 500 million. You can see these stones. They're located in Georgia. They're called the Georgia Guide stones, okay? And that's their goal. And what that means is 95% of people on this planet have to go. And you'll notice if you look at what policies big money pushes, it's always something that reduces the numbers of the population, okay? They always want abortion to be free on demand. They always want birth control to be available everywhere. They also want to encourage anything that will get rid of the traditional family, all right? I'll show you some more examples of this. It'll make more sense as we go along here. Okay, so this is really sort of the struggle, between is life on Earth going to be mostly slavery for the vast majority of the population, or is there going to continue to be at least some free speech, free religion, and all that other stuff? And that's sort of what it is, a struggle between good and evil. And basically, what atheistic Darwinism in the hands of the powerful people is, they say, look, all these stupid, useless eaters, life not worth living, all they do is pollute and damage things. They're not worth anything. They're just a bunch of talking monkeys. Atheistic Darwinism says that people do not have a soul. There's nothing unique about them. They're just monkeys that talk. And therefore, they have no rights to anything. None whatsoever. Okay, that's how they think of you. And it's important that you know that. And so whether or not Christianity, in my opinion, is the only thing that could potentially unify the public to say, look, we want to be free. And now other people tell me things, well, like, look at Japan. Japan has a really good country, and they have the lowest crime practically anywhere you'll ever find. And I would say, yes, that is true. Okay, I heard a lot of good things about Japan. But here's the problem about Japan. Shintoism is not going to become the new religion of America. It just ain't going to happen, okay? I know a lot of very nice Hindu doctors who are super nice, have very nice families, but you know what? Hinduism is not going to become the religion of America. There's no hope of that, okay? And when I say religion, it doesn't mean people got to go to church. I don't go to church, okay? What it means is that, though, they respect the principles of Christianity and they appreciate it, and it has some structure on society, the Ten Commandments, Jesus' advice to love thy neighbor, forgive each other, give each other the benefit of the doubt, First Peter and Corinthians, love's the most important thing, getting along. So everybody's nice to each other and we get along. Here's a great song sung by Kennedy Anderson, I Will Serve the Lord. Okay, and this is where it's going to happen for America. We're either going to get the so-called great you-know-what, and then a reset, which means to drop the population by 95% and impose slavery on everyone other than the leaders of the cow, moon, East party, okay? And that's what they want, okay? They said, look, it's too late for this bullshit. This is what's going to happen. That's what the decision has been made, okay? And so far, that's the direction things are going. And what I'm trying to say is, if you open your eyes, it's so obvious the desecration of society. We used to have buildings like this, the cathedrals, the most magnificent buildings ever built. Why were they built back in, the 1300s and about 1300s to 1800, and now we don't build anything but these crappy looking buildings that look like animal cages, and there's almost always a statue of a turd in front. Should mankind produce beautiful things like this, or should he make statues of turds? Okay, Picasso stinks. Okay, Picasso's a joke. Picasso was a cow, moon, come on, he sucks. Okay, you have to be able to see that and make a judgment and not go for what you're told and the fake brain, cleaning, washing schools, okay? Here's magnificent art, Pietà, the best sculpture ever. Here's magnificent literature, theater, musicals, Les Miserables, okay? The bishop forgives Jean Valjean, and then Jean Valjean goes on to help so many other people. That's how Christianity makes life better for everybody. And here's what atheistic Darwinism is. Atheistic Darwinism takes over the art museums and desecrates them. It makes statues of turds. That's disgusting. That's an insult. Can you imagine if people from the Renaissance came to visit modern America and they go and they look at the buildings and their animal cages with statues of turds in front? They go to the art museum and there's statues of turds. They would say these people are retarded, vile barbarians. Okay, and we've become that. Okay, we're becoming that to a large degree. And then the other thing you'll hear is, oh, trust the science. BS. There is no science anymore. There's almost none. Okay, almost all the articles in the journals, and I know them quite well. I've been serious about studying medical, academic, biochemistry stuff since I was a little guy, about 18 years old. I can tell you, most of it is fake. It's almost all of it is funded by industries. They own the journals, they own the scientists, they control what's published. And you will see a giant percentage of scientific articles. It depends a little bit on the details, but they tend to be between 65 to 80% of the articles are not reproducible on follow-up, okay? So that's why you should not trust the science. You should not trust establishment science because it's bogus. It's almost all designed to sell drugs. Okay, here, take a look. In 2023, there were over 10,000 research papers retracted. And just to give you a comparison, in the year 2000, there were about 100 research papers retracted. So what this is saying is it's an unbelievable increase in the amount of lying in the so-called peer-reviewed literature, okay? A big company just buys a journal, and then the scientists, they have to either promote what the company wants, or they don't get published. They'll even, the big money will just call the university and say, fire this guy, and the guy will be fired. So scientists really have almost no integrity anymore. I'm sorry. Even though individually they mean well and they want to do well, the field as a whole is not able to have integrity because the scientists are poor and they have to essentially beg for money, and a beggar can't be a chooser. They do what they're told. Okay, here's some songs that are good for 4th of July. Rich Men North of Richmond by Oliver Anthony. That's him. Here he is reading a Bible at one of his concerts. They got a bunch of American flags in the back. Yeah, you got to honor the flag. That's America. America was the greatest country ever in the history of the world. The founders of America were brilliant men who really wanted freedom, and they had studied what happened in ancient Greece, what happened in ancient Rome, and they knew what happened in the Renaissance. They knew what was going on in England, all throughout Europe. So they knew what leads to freedom and what doesn't. That's why they made the Declaration of Independence. That's why they made the Constitution. Okay, and basically things that promote the family tend to promote freedom. Things that promote the citizen tend to promote freedom. Things that centralize all the power in one entity, those tend to take away freedom. And my father was from Ireland, and they were slaves to the British, and they still kind of are for 1,000 years, okay? It's no joke. I know all the stories, how they weren't allowed to have a horse, they were forced to change their name, all their property was taken from. I saw where my father grew up. He's in a house with a dirt floor, okay? It was a piece of crap. So anyways, anything that tends to promote America nowadays, freedom in America nowadays, gets criticized. Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean, Where I Find God by Larry Fleet, okay? So religion means religare. Legare is to ligate, to tie together. It's the only thing that can tie the people together. If you think something else can, you're kidding yourself. And also, I think the public schools train people to think that society cares about them. All you have to do is study a little bit, and you can see it doesn't at all. Okay, so here's a whole bunch of 37 Harvard research study. accused of scientific fraud. The Harvard professor who studies dishonesty falsified his data. It goes on and on. Harvard's become a joke. I can tell you, I've read many of the major Harvard textbooks. Their pathology textbook, their neurology textbook, their cardiovascular pathophysiology textbook, their immunology textbook, and they're all pieces of crap. They're all full of lies, and none of them tells the truth about health, disease, and nutrition, and epidemiology and toxicology. I guarantee you, they stink. They're close to worthless. And that's Harvard, our so-called best university in the United States. It has become a joke, a major joke. Not kind of a partial joke, a total joke, okay? Yes, there's a lot of high IQ talented people there, but they're not allowed to do almost anything useful, okay? Okay, now here's a quote by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and this is why you have to have God in science, because if you don't have a moral standard, then everything just goes to money. Fyodor Dostoevsky says, if there is no God, then everything is permitted, even cannibalism. Now, the average person will say, oh, cannibalism, that's ridiculous. No, you're wrong. We're already practicing cannibalism on a widespread basis in the United States. You just don't understand. The other thing, too, I grew up when America was by far the greatest country in the world. There was no debate about it, okay? All these, immigrants came to America because they wanted to, and, they had something to offer to America. Now, I can tell you this. Now the push is to lower the age of consent to 12 years old, okay? Because they want children. They want your children, okay? Don't be mistaken about it. They say it out loud, okay? And they also, and Putin, when I grew up, Russia was a crap hole, a third world crap hole. We all laughed at Russia, how poor they were. There were all these super pretty women who were working as prostitutes in Russia. And that's what we said. The economy is so bad in Russia that, most of the men are alcoholic lowlifes, and the women can't find a man to support them, so they work as prostitutes. That was the old joke, that a prostitute in Russia was prettier than, the queen of the cheerleaders in America, okay? So the women would try to come to America from the communist countries, and there were a lot of super pretty women coming from Russia and the other Eastern European countries, and that was sort of a widely known thing amongst men when I was a young guy. Okay, and they would all tell stories. I heard tons of stories about how bad it was, okay? You'd lose your job if you were a Christian. You'd get sent to the camps for minor things. All right, so what else? So now here's why am I going through all this? Because it's ridiculous. So here's Putin, in Russia, a third world crap hole of a country, and he's saying that marriage should be between one man and a woman. Putin also says the United States is immoral, that they promote anti-family policies, they promote pedo-you-know-what, philia, that they promote cannibalism. And unfortunately, he's correct, okay? He also says that he wants Russia to become known as a center for organic food, okay? And he says you can't trust up food from America because there's too much processing of it, and much of it is GMO, okay? This is from Putin, from the scumbag third world crap hole of a country. Okay, he also says Zelensky is persecuting the Orthodox Christian monks, but he will defend the Christian monks. Coming from Putin, okay? You know things are bad when the KGB has more morals than your country, okay? Zelensky banned the Orthodox monks, so that's not good. He was a transvestite, okay? That's not good. Okay, we'll get to the songs in just one sec. A little bit more historical stuff here. Atheistic Darwinism is the philosophy of Jenner, side. It is the philosophy of eugenics. It says basically that might is right, survival of the fittest. If you've got the might, the money, and the power, you can do whatever you want. That's why they always want atheistic Darwinism. That's why England in the 1800s preferred Darwinism over, the theories of Wallace and the other theories of the origin of life and whatnot, because it gave them carte blanche to just rule the world and just do whatever they wanted to all the other peoples because they considered them inferior. So basically, my Irish ancestors were considered inferior to the British and were brutalized by them and starved to death and all kinds of things. It's a very common technique they use when they want to control people is to starve them, okay? So don't be surprised to see that one recurring. Okay, the other thing they do is they like to start wars. And the way they always do it, it's always the same thing. They declare their opponent to be a homicidal maniac and a terrorist. And then they say they need to go after them and destroy them because they're homicidal maniacs and terrorists. Meanwhile, it's them who's going after the other person, okay? And what they want to do now in the United States is declare that of the Christians, okay? And the reason why they hate Christianity is Christianity says, no, Mr. Ruler, you are not the highest thing in the world. The highest thing in the world is God, and the philosophy of God as identified in the Bible is above you, and we shall honor the philosophy of God. And if you refuse to honor it, then you really shouldn't be ruler. So what they hate Christianity. A lot of people can't understand that. The Roman emperors hated Christianity. tyrants. Stalin hated Christianity. Stalin said that religion is against science and that he is for science, therefore they must get rid of all religion. Okay? That's the standard policy of a tyrant. Okay? And then people think, oh, this open border is diversity. No, it is not. It's almost 80% men, and it's really like infantry coming into our country to destroy it. Okay? They're going to be favored over the regular citizens. They're going to be given, you know what, over the regular citizens. The regular citizens are going to have their ability to defend taken away from them, and they are going to destroy America like they're destroying France and destroying other countries. Okay, it's already happening. These are not families coming in. There's some families, not too many. It's mostly men of an age of military, and they are here to destroy the United States. Okay, it's very sad, but that's what's happening. We are making medications out of aborted fetuses. That is a routine thing. And then people take those medicines. That is cannibalism, okay? It is a pretty common thing if you study Hollywood that they're drinking the you-know-what blood from children. If you think I'm kidding, just look it up. Just look it up. I mean, this has been around for many years, okay? It's called adrenochrome. Look it up. It's well known. This is cannibalism. Cannibalism has become routine in America amongst wealthy people, and Hollywood's sort of a center for it. But it's not just Hollywood. There's also a lot of trafficking of humans and children for the purposes, like we showed earlier, of people who want your kids. They want them for this sort of stuff. The you-know-what, philia, you-know-what, okay? This is all happening in America on a large scale, sponsored by big money. Processed food, if you look at the things in it, the preservatives and the other chemicals in it, it's designed to sterilize people, okay? Puberty blockers for young children, grade school age children, that's just to sterilize them, okay? So-called gender-affirming surgery, it's just a euphemism for sterilizing unfortunate, poor, ignorant people, okay? There's nothing nice about it. They just give it a euphemistic name, makes it sound, positive in some way. It's to sterilize children, okay? That's an evil thing. We're sacrificing children. You go back to the Bible, Baal or something. The evil societies would sacrifice children, okay? And America's doing that, okay? Giving attention deficit children, labeling them attention deficit, giving them amphetamines. That's poisoning children. We do that on a widespread basis. We give them a lot more than amphetamines, okay? Anybody who looks at the data can see the terrible long-term outcomes from that. Why do we do it? Why don't any doctors speak up against that? Okay, we've lost our moral backbone because most people have drifted into atheistic Darwinism. They don't have a moral foundation or a center or anything. It makes them weak and it makes them being groomed for slavery. Okay, affirmative action sounds nice. Oh, we're going to help the minorities. I'm a minority. I don't know if you know that. I'm half Puerto Rican. No one ever calls me. No one ever recruits me. No one ever wants me to teach. And what I'm trying to say is what they say affirmative action, what they want is puppets. They want to stick puppets in the position of power, and the puppet will obey whatever they say and get them to do bad things. And then the big money can say, well, look, we didn't do anything bad. It was just, the puppet did it. But they won't call him a puppet. But anybody who looks around will see there's a lot of puppets in powerful positions. And that's not by accident. That is by design. And you will also see no one will ever, put Thomas Sowell in a position of power. They hate Clarence Thomas, and they hate people like me, okay? They don't want a smart, competent person like me that will try to make things better for the public. No, they want a puppet who will do as they are told. And when you hear things like multiculturalism, oh, it sounds nice. Oh, we want multiculturalism. They don't really want multiculturalism. What they want to do is get rid of Western society, of Christianity. I went to Stanford where they had a class, in Western civilization. It was a great class, the best class of my 4 years at Stanford. And they came in there as Jesse Jackson. He said, hey ho, Western Civ has got to go. And they got rid of the class, okay? And, people aren't learning languages from other societies. I don't see people studying cultures from other society. All they're basically being told is that Western society stinks. But the problem is big money and atheistic Darwinism. It has nothing to replace Western civilization. Yes, Western civilization has some problems, but it does tend to fix them over time. Christianity is always pushing towards all men are equal before the eyes of God, and it's always pushing for freedom, okay? So, there were problems in the United States. There were plenty of things that were wrong, but it's always pushing for the good. And if you look at it closely, you will see that, okay? You look at most of the modern high quality painting, science, technology, it almost all comes from the Western cultures. Almost everybody wants to move to the Western culture countries, okay? Everybody wanted to move to America when I was young, from all over the world, okay? Nobody wants to go to the non-Christian cultures, okay? Almost nobody, other than somebody whose family is from those places occasionally. So why is it that everybody wants to move to the West? Because the West traditionally was good. The West traditionally was free, okay? Muhammad Ali, what did he say? The great boxer. He said, thank God my daddy got on that boat, because he didn't want to go back to Africa after he fought, In Africa, he had that big fights with Joe Frazier, and that was, great entertainment. When I was young, we all watched that stuff. Okay, diversity. When they say diversity, you go, oh, everybody says, well, isn't that nice? But big money doesn't think about diversity the way the average person does. The average person thinks, oh, diversity, be fair, let everybody from different ethnic groups or genders have a chance. Okay, fine, that's nice, but that's not really what big money means by it. When they say diversity, what big money means by that is that the public is divided and shall be conquered. It's like the Roman strategy of conquest. Rome would just divide and conquer all the surrounding cities, city-states, because they were all divided, and that's what it wanted. So the more diverse America gets, the less unified it gets, the weaker it gets. The public, religion means legare, to ligate, to tie together. You have to have some agreed upon shared values, or otherwise all control will come from a centralized force from above, and it will force you to do a lot of things you don't want. And that's the direction America is going in. Like I said, I'm probably the smartest minority doctor in the whole world, okay? I never get invited to teach. My own medical school doesn't want me to teach the minority students. Because if I teach them, they're going to get much better grades, and then they're going to be less able to say, oh, they're not doing so well, give us more money, give us more grant money. Okay, they're going to say, oh, we have so much racism, they're not doing well. If I taught them, they would do very well. I've had a bunch of students who went from being really mediocre to being near the tops of their classes. So they don't want somebody like me around. I know it because I've been around conventional medicine and academics all my life, and I can tell you, meritocracy, truth, excellence, it is not welcome. What they want is puppets who are easy to control and who will do the bidding of big money. Big money wants to sell drugs. Big money wants to reduce the numbers of the population, okay? And then gay marriage. What do they mean by gay marriage? What they want in gay marriage is to say, well, look, now that everybody's, there's people are going to get fake gay marriages just so that they can get the benefits. And once they give benefits to so many people, they're going to take it all away from heterosexual marriage. The real goal of all this stuff, nobody cares if two guys want to be together. I don't care. But I don't think they should get the same tax benefits as a married couple who, has barely any money and they're trying to raise children, and the children are expensive, okay? That's one of the hardest things about having kids is they cost a lot of money. And I'll even tell you a story. One day I came home from work, another long day at work, coming home at 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night, got to get up, be in the hospital at 7 o'clock in the morning the next day. And my kid, he meant well. It was many, many years ago. He's in junior high. And he goes, Dad, how can I become rich? I want to become rich. What do I got to do? What's the fastest way for me to become rich? And I said, well, probably the best way is don't have any children. And my wife was in the kitchen. She's like, what is wrong with you? That's no way to talk. Why don't you tell the kids something useful? And I said, oh, yeah, and don't get married. Of course, I'm just kidding. I had a long day at work, and I was just joking. But what I'm trying to say is it's not easy to raise kids. So families should be supported, okay? It's expensive raising kids. All right, well, anyways, I know you maybe didn't even want to hear all that stuff, but there it is. And here's the great songs for 4th of July. Star Spangled Banner. The best version is this one right here by Robert Shaw. My Country 'Tis of Thee. We used to sing those songs when I was in school. Okay, when I was a young kid in school back in the 1960s. My Country 'Tis of Thee, God Bless America, and a whole bunch of other patriotic songs. And that was a good thing. If I had been, 5 years older, we would have been singing, we would have been reading the Bible in school, which is good. As I think it was Greeley, it might be, I don't remember his first name, somebody named Greeley had said, you cannot enslave a Bible-reading people. They won't go for it, okay? That's another reason why big money wants to get rid of all the Christians. Okay, Hank Williams Jr. song, A Country Boy Can Survive, great song. Some Lynyrd Skynyrd songs, Simple Man, Freebird, Sweet Home Alabama. Here's a good, more recent song, Take It All Back by Tauren Wells. John McCormick, Battle Hymn of the Republic. He's an Irish guy. And Irish, there's a lot of good Irish songs about, wanting freedom. They've been enslaved by the British for about 1,000 years, okay? And my mother's from Puerto Rico, okay? When the United States took over Puerto Rico, if a Puerto Rican, waved a flag in the street, they would be shot, okay? So that's why they're, they kind of act like crazy jerks waving their flags out of their car, beeping their horns, being annoying, but that's why they do it, okay? Freedom is something precious. Okay, and then John McCormick, other song, Onward Christian Soldiers. And there's a whole bunch of other great Irish songs along these lines, like the Bold Fenian Men, Down by the Glenside, The Rising Moon. There's a whole bunch of them. The Wearing of the Green. I love all that stuff, okay? All my old uncles and stuff told me all the stories about Ireland. Okay, Stars and Stripes Forever. Loch Lomond, Peter Hollins, is sort of a Scotland freedom song. And Scotland, to me, is almost like Ireland. I mean, basically, they were oppressed by the British pretty severely for many, many years. Probably they were a little, maybe a little better off than than the Irish, but it was still the same basic idea that they were considered inferior and brutalized. Okay, Johnny Cash singing Ragged Old Flag. Johnny Cash also has a good version of like Battle Hymn of the Republic, Yankee Doodle, the old song, Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue by Toby Keith. And then I include this one song here, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, sung by Joan Baez. She does a nice version of it because what I'm getting at, of course, the Civil War had a lot of issues in there, and of course, slavery was very wrong. It was very completely wrong. But there was also a trick played on the American people. One of the things they used the Civil War as an excuse for was to take away states' rights. And once they've taken away state rights, then a central body can impose whatever it wants on all the other places. So, yes, they should have had slavery outlawed. That is correct. However, my Irish ancestors were enslaved for 1,000 years. I'm pretty familiar with the concept of slavery. Okay, and I know a lot of people from Eastern Europe and Russia who were enslaved too. Okay, unfortunately it was a common thing ever since the beginning of the history of the world, and it's still going on today in a very big way. You go around, look around the world, how common is slavery today? You'd be amazed how common it is. So what I'm saying is, however, though, when you centralize all power in one place, you make it easy for slavery to continue. Okay, I just have a few more slides. I'll put some links to those songs below. All right, this is Christmas Carol with Charles Dickens, and how Scrooge went from being a grouch to being nice. And that's kind of the idea of redemption and turning it around, that America could turn itself around, just like Scrooge turned himself around. Then Tiny Tim lived, and everybody was happy, okay? But I can tell you, here's what Big Money wants. Big Money wants to declare that Christians and all these other people are heretics, domestic terrorists, worship a false god, etc., etc. They want to put them into camps, and then they want to put them in this machine here that was very popular in France in the 1790s. And if you think I'm exaggerating, that's because you have not studied history. This is all well known. This has all been in writing for a long time. So again, my favorite song here, I Will Serve the Lord, sung by Kennedy Anderson. And, for the time I got left on this planet, I'm going to try to do good things and help people and teach them the truth about nutrition, toxicology, epidemiology. And here's the decision for America to make. And if you don't do anything, you're really helping this path here. And we're already, halfway down the road to this path, okay? And that's what Big Money wants, and that's what's going to happen, okay? They're just going to keep on putting more people in camps. They're going to keep on increasing the trafficking, taking away freedom, getting rid of the traditional family, making less and less free choice, free speech, more and more prevention of free speech. Whereas this is where the way things could be. There's more than enough food. There's more than enough land. We could get along, live together, and be happy and enjoy our families. We just have to say that's what we want, okay, and not go for every piece of BS that gets sent down the path to force us into this. So, anyways, I hope some freedom will continue. I hope Bible Christian values will help unify people. I don't know if we're going to make it or not. I'm going to do the best I can to try to make the world a better place and encourage freedom and empowerment of the individual, but who knows what's going to happen.